Hi, this is Ian Banyard from Cotswold Natural Mindfulness, and we've made it 30 days. In fact, I've got to be honest with you, the 30 days was yesterday because today's the 1st of December, and it's been 2 months for me of sort of a mindfulness practice, because I started this journey at the beginning of October when I joined Melly O'Brien's Mindfulness Summit and had 31 days listening to 31 fantastic speakers talking about mindfulness. Reached over 250,000 people, I think, got involved, raised about $1 million for mindfulness-based charities. It's an amazing thing. And 31 speakers, John Kabat-Zinn, Daniel Goleman was on there, Paul Gilbert was on there, Ruby Wax was on there, Daniel Siegel, lots of fantastic teachers, people who are sharing experience of mindfulness. And it's still available, by the way, if you want to get access to it. If you go to Mrs. Mindfulness's website, Melly O'Brien's website, and just Google Mrs. Mindfulness or the Mindfulness Summit, and you can still get access to that information. It's still available. But that was my first month. That was October, and that was very intense. That was quite hard for me because every day there was a video to watch, and every day you were encouraged to practice mindfulness. And I'm not one for kind of doing the same thing every day, or committing to doing something like that mindfully every single day. I kind of like change. I like spontaneity. I change my mind like the wind. Sometimes some days I feel like doing things, some days I won't. And to sit still and watch a video was really challenging. So I kind of, at the end of October, I set myself this experiment to see if I could go for 30 days through November, kind of being more active with mindfulness. And one of the reasons I set up natural mindfulness was because, I kind of like combining the activity of movement, of using that part of our brain that's designed to move. I mean, I don't think we're designed to sit in front of TVs and computers for long periods of time. My brain just goes to sleep if I'm doing that. But when I'm out and I'm walking, it's almost like my brain comes alive, particularly if I'm in an environment that I find very interesting and I have a curiosity about it. And when you get those lovely times in nature when you're in awe of I don't know. Sometimes I had stags or deers walk out onto the path, and you just get that feeling of awe, or you see a wonderful sunset or a wonderful sunrise or a beautiful landscape, and it's all, we say awesome, don't we? There's that awe, that which I guess it's a word we use and don't really explore very much. But there is something about that it brings. I'm alive in those moments. There's something that just it nourishes me. It taps into something deep within me, and that's kind of what I call natural mindfulness. It's that being naturally aware of what's going on in the present moment. It's not something you have to learn. I think it's something you have to remember, or something you have to discover and then practice and experience, and things we practice and experience we get better at and better at and better at. And that was kind of the idea of this month. It was go out into nature on a regular basis, every day if you could. I've got to admit, I didn't do it every day. I thought I would be beating myself up more for not doing that, because I feel, because there's many of you that joined me on it, if I didn't do it on certain days, I felt a bit bad. I felt like, I'm letting people down. But then, then I reminded myself, gently, that the reason I didn't set out to do this with a group of people. I'm so pleased you joined me. I'm grateful that you did. But I set out to just do this for myself. And, as an experiment, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's feedback, it's evidence. And I did it to just see what would happen, to see if I could, and if I couldn't, to see how I treated myself if I couldn't do it. And a number of things came up. Some days I wanted to go out and I couldn't go out, and other days I didn't want to go out, and I almost forced myself to go out. I pushed myself to go out one day, and I wish I hadn't gone out. However, I think there was a lesson in that, in terms of being mindful about what's going on within me. Am I forcing myself sometimes to do things that other people think are good for me to do, and actually deep down aren't the best thing for me to do, and maybe if I didn't force myself as much, or didn't push myself as much, perhaps I would be more balanced, healthier, better in myself. How many times do we kind of push ourselves to do things because we think that's what other people expect from us, and maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't what they expect from us. Maybe we're just conditioned into doing those sorts of things. So all of that sort of came up for me over this 30 days, and a number of things happened. There was some quite awful things happened actually. Last week, my wife's had a little Maltese terrier that's been her companion for over 13 years, who had reached the end of her life. To be honest, she'd gone blind. She had arthritis. She couldn't feed herself very well, and so last week we had to call out the vet and go through all of that. And she was a very important part of our family, very very missed. But it's interesting how, because I was in the process of doing this experiment, in some ways I was able to sort of be there for my wife, be there for our little daughter, and be more clear and thoughtful in terms of how we helped our dog through that stage, because it's one of those awful dilemmas in life. Are you prolonging an animal's life for yourself, or are you prolonging it for the welfare of the animal? And I felt very much last week that even though it's a very sad and very challenging time for us as a family, I was able to sort of turn up and be me. And that was one of the reasons I set this experiment up. It was to sort of see that, would this self-connecting to myself on a regular basis through this period of time with natural mindfulness, would evidence start to show up within my life, in terms of with my career and with my family life and my relationships, with my health? And I've got to say, looking back over the 30 days, it has. It hasn't been an easy time. Sometimes have been absolutely wonderful. I mean, I've had some fantastic experiences, and I know some of you have as well, because you've been posting them on the Facebook group, and which has been great to read. And I know some of you, some of those times are good, and some of those times won't have been good. And I think it's about, what is how our days turn up is how our days turn up. How we deal with those is kind of down to us. And my aim really in life is to always try and be the best person I can be in the circumstances I find myself. And on some days, I might be a 10 out of 10. But on some days I might be a 1 out of 10. But if I'm a 1 out of 10, but all the things going on around me, and the pressures I'm under and how I'm feeling, are hard and difficult, that 1 out of 10 could be just as an achievement as being a 10 out of 10. And I think that's a lesson I've learned over the years, and kind of came home to me more during these 30 days, is that it's just really about you turning up in the present moment as the best version of yourself that you can be, with everything else that's going on around you. So it's been great. I know some of you have been saying to me, please, I'd like to keep going on with this, and what are we going to do now that this is finished? And I think what I'm going to do in the new year is I'm going to start to do, I think 30 days is a lot. It's a lot for me, and I'm sure it's a lot for other people. But I think what I'm going to start to do is, because I'm going to be running sort of more natural mindfulness workshops. I'm collaborating with Miyuki Miura, who you've met on the group if you're on the group. And we're collaborating on a book which will be the Natural Mindfulness Guidebook that's be coming out in the spring. We're going to be sharing more information about how you can go out and set walks up for yourselves that are very nourishing for yourself, that for people that want to help people find themselves, to heal themselves, to know themselves better. And one of the hardest things for people, I think, is to release your true self into the world. So there's going to be a guide in that book. There's going to be walks that people can do that help to stimulate those stages of connecting with yourself. And I think the key one, for a lot of people, is how do you release yourself, give yourself permission to be the real you, the true you, your true nature. So that will be coming out in the new year. But I think what I'll do is I'll keep a group going, I think, and maybe challenge people to just do maybe a 7-day sort of natural mindfulness self-connection experiment. And if I keep the group open, what it means is people can kind of dip in and dip out, and we can kind of check in on people and share with people. I certainly think I'll do another 7-day. I don't think I'll do another 30-day. It was a challenge, but it was an experiment. I think the 7-day for me is not the experiment. The 7-day for me will be kind of a practice, kind of like a digital detox, kind of like an unplug kind of idea, that in the way some people will have a few alcohol-free days, or maybe go on a juicing week or something. I'll go on a kind of a 7-day natural mindfulness detox, which means I'll spend a period of time for 7 days in a consistent way, in nature, mindful and connected to myself, connected to the natural world, and connected with other people. Because as I always say, when we connect, we care. And what's lovely about what I've set up with Natural Mindfulness, particularly with Cotswold Natural Mindfulness, where we have a big growing community now here in the Cotswolds, is that we are connecting not just with nature, not just with ourselves, but we're connecting with each other and caring about each other. And I think that's a really important thing, particularly at this time in sort of world history, when there's a lot of disconnection and therefore a lot of conflict. And I kind of think if we had more connection, more caring, there'd be less conflict, more compassion, and a better world. But hey, that's maybe another experiment for another time. So in the meantime, thank you so much. Take good care of yourselves, enjoy the moments, and I'll keep in touch with you. If you'd like to keep in touch with me, that's great, through Facebook. And if you're in the Cotswolds, please come and let me know. Come join us on a walk sometime. And a big thank you to all of you that have joined me on this experiment. And I look forward to communicating with you more in the future. Take care now.